Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my Sunday live stream where we talk about photography and catch up on what's been happening with me and with all of you as well. It's always a treat for me every week, or every stream I should say, to sit down and just have a little chit chat with everyone and see all my friends here. I really enjoy this time, and I thank all of you for spending your time with me, taking time out of your day just to hang out. So I appreciate that. Oh, okay. So let me see who's here. We have Jonas, Mike, and Dave, and John Yutze. Awesome. And thank you, John, for your recent coffees. I really appreciate that. Um, and Nature's here. Dave Nelson, Jalay, John Allen, David Crow. Hey, John. David Crooks is here. I just had breakfast with David. Oh, I just walked in the door like 5 minutes ago and just had to dry off and comb my hair, and I put my Trek jacket on, right, for Halloween. So some of you may not have seen this jacket yet, but this is my Halloween costume. But it's from the first, or the prequel to the original series. It's that prequel, The Enterprise was the name of the show. Grossly underrated. I think it was a terrific series. I liked it as much as any of the others. But okay, let's see who else is here. Oh, Randy's here. Lauren, good to see you. And Thomas Zizauskas, awesome. Leon, Range Rider, Nature, Trevor. Oh, thank you, Trevor. Oh, your grandson would love it. I got it on Amazon. It was like, I mean, it should be like a $20 jacket, but because they got patches, it's like I paid 60 bucks or 65. I bought it a couple years ago as my Halloween costume, because this jacket you can kind of wear outside, right? And it just looks like kind of a normal flight jacket. I mean, I think I can still pull this off in public, but you know, generally I only wear it on Halloween or thereabouts. Yeah, the Space Force General. Oh my God, I love that show, Space Force, on Netflix. That's the funniest show ever. He's only 4 years old and space mad, huh? Wow. That's great. I got into Star Trek because of my dad. He used to watch it when back in the 60s, you know, when it came on. Yes, I'm that old. But we used to watch Star Trek back when it was on TV. And of course through all the reruns in the 70s and stuff. Oh, Christian Johannes Eppel, always good to see you. I've been there's been a lot of posts in my forum lately too, which have been awesome. I wanted to address some of them here, now I can't remember because I just, you know, because of this daylight savings thing, I woke up at like 3 in the morning, which gave me, because I went to bed at like 8:30. So that gave me 7 hours of sleep, but then I've been kind of pissing around. I went on a photo walk this morning with the local photography club, and I went yesterday as well. And we got some new members today in the photo club for David. David Crooks runs the local photography club here that I recently joined a few months back. And so it was Doug and Praveen. Was good to see you. Nice to have you in the group. I think it was their first time out with us. So if you're here, hi. And the other David is usually watches my streams. I don't know, but I don't know what your screen name is. Oh, Plato's here. Hey, Plato, good to see you. Oh, you watch Gunsmoke? Wow. Yeah, that's slightly before my time, not by much, maybe 10 years. Oh, that had good old Lauren Green in it, and I think even Leonard Nimoy was in a couple episodes, wasn't he? In Gunsmoke? And then other than blurring motion, what else does long exposure photography do, or what does long exposure do for photography? Well, you know, astrophotography is the next thing comes into mind, right? Long exposures. You know, when you want to capture and soak in as much light as you can from the stars, you know, you can do 15 seconds, 30 seconds, you know, depending on your focal length and your camera pixel pitch, you calculate the length of the exposure. Um, so that's, I would say, the next most common thing. People use long exposure, and then they do stacking, right? They take multiple 15 to 30-second exposures and stack those, so they get an effective, 10 or 20-minute exposure, depending how many times they want to stack. Um, Gosh, I don't know what else. Waterfalls, blurring people in the streets. Besides motion blur, another thing people like to do in very busy, like a bus station, they'll do a long exposure so that all the people get blurred out to almost invisible. So it looks like you're taking a picture of an empty bus station, which is normally very busy, or a train station, for example. So it's a good way to reduce the amount of busyness in a scene as well by using long exposure. Street scenes, things like that. I've seen some pretty impressive or very convincing results that make it look like it's an empty city. With all because once, um, I mean, it takes the right circumstance. Usually, like in a train station, right? Most people are a little bit dark, and the floors are very bright. That's when that type of long exposure works well. But in a street, like in a city where the streets are black, but then the cars are all different colors, it's a little harder to make cars disappear. They'll just be streaks, right? So, but those are the things that come to mind. I'm sure there's more, but those things come to mind. And let's see. Oh, David Tellett is here. Awesome. Good to see you. Oh, you're sick. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you get better soon. Let's see. I still got it. I'm always worried. I brought cash for that your camera. I'm ready to buy one from you. David Tellett sells, or doesn't sell, but he has a bunch of film cameras, and he had some Pen Fs from film days, and he was willing to maybe sell one of his. So I've been going to the photo walks really just to meet up with Dave. I don't care about the pictures. No, I'm just kidding. But so hopefully we'll see you again soon, and you're up and about. Oh, see, SL7293 knows even more. He says many astrophotography photos consist of individual exposures 10 to 15 minutes in length, and then stacked to achieve 10 to 20 hours of exposure. So I would imagine you need a tracker, or you'd have to track it manually somehow as well. I'm thinking more of like, just taking pictures for a few minutes, right? Where you don't have to move the camera so much. And Thomas Sazowska says, wanted to thank you for your suggestion of the Ollie 40 to 150 Tele. Took it out yesterday for a hike and loved it. Yeah, it's a great lens. It's a great lens. Oh, you don't need to send it to me, David. I still got rolls of film I haven't finished yet that are in the camera. So I'm not in any hurry. Anytime we meet, it'll be fine. And let's see, Johannes de Wald, Lassie. Oh, you're probably talking about the show Lassie. Oh my God, yeah. I used to watch Lassie. And then SL7293 says, yes, you need the track to take long auto exposures unless you're doing the star trails, right? Yeah, star trails, thank you. That's another long exposure technique. Oh, thank you, Mike. Put this towards the snacks for Ellie. Ellie's my girl dog. Or another cool jacket. Yeah. I do have some like Avenger jackets and things like that in my shopping list on Amazon that I'm looking at. But I don't know if I can pull those off. Those are for really young people, right? But thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate that. And building a barn door tracker for Astro is pretty easy and works well on the cheap. I don't even know what that is. I'm not really into Astro too much. I mean, I've done a couple of shots, that every beginner can do, right? You just set this timer for 15 or 20 seconds, or the shutter for 15 or 20 seconds, and hope the stars are in focus, that kind of thing. The biggest challenge with Astro for me, at least at the time, was you can only do about 30 minutes of photos before your batteries die because it's so freaking cold, you know, because you got to go to a place where there's very low light pollution. You know, if you can get on a mountain, even better. You know, you're a little bit closer, as if it makes any difference, but less atmosphere distortion, right? And it's cold. Oh, thank you, Honest of All. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And Nature says, unfortunately, I rarely have clear sky in London, and general street city light is impossible to do astro. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I've seen people have some success with like those light pollution filters. I'm I'm a little skeptical of those light pollution filters myself. Uh, because they're kind of expensive, and I'm like, how do you really? I don't know. Has anyone ever used those light pollution filters? Let everybody know if those are any good, because there's definitely light pollution almost anywhere I go, even out to the Shenandoah Mountains, which are fairly local to me, only a couple hours away. And I still have to deal with light pollution even then. Lawrence Plato says 57 channels and nothing. Hey Fotis, how are you? Good to see you, Fotis. I just got, like I was saying, I just got everybody, I just walked in the door 10 minutes ago. How long's the stream been on? Yeah, well, 20 minutes ago. I need to turn the heat on in my house because it's cold in here. My fingers are already getting frostbite. Hold on. This is what the Zoom mic sounds like, straight out, without plugging in my lav mic, in case people were wondering. Zoom H1N1. I can't pull, it's kind of tethered to my computer. I can't show it. But, yeah, I left a wireless mic. I wanted to vlog this morning, right? On my photo walk. And I brought the transmitter, but I didn't bring the receiver, or I brought the receiver, but I didn't bring the transmitter. Transmitter's here. And then when I came in the house, I left the receiver in the car, and I have the transmitter here. And I just, you know, I was already late, so I didn't have time to run back out to the car, come back in, and so I'm just using this little Boya plug-in lav mic. So I'm tethered to my machine now. Ellie is cold. No, she's not cold. She bundles up. I got her a really nice bed that's really nice and comfy and warm. So she curls up in that and she's fine. And Nature says, just put an order in for an LED light and camera condenser microphone following your suggestion and everyone's comments. Oh, did you get the Godox we were talking about? Because, you know, after we after we talked about the lighting last week, we went through kind of my shopping list on Amazon, right? And I had a light in there that was about $20 less than the Godox, but had like twice as much power. And the only downside to it is you're not going to be able to find a spare battery, so you just got to hope that that battery that comes with it lasts a long time, right? I mean, I think it would last a long time by itself, you know, because it's brand new, but sometimes you want to have spare batteries, and it'd be hard to find a spare battery for it because it's a really third party kind of light. Oh, the Godox wasn't really suitable. So what did you end up getting? Because, you know, that suggestion I made about buying that $20 light just to see how much brightness you need was, I think, as a legitimate advice, but you kept saying you want to use it outside, you know, outdoors or on site at a different studio. I wasn't sure exactly. So in that case, you know, you wouldn't be able to really test the light until you got to the site, right? And then you have to have an outlet available. But I was thinking more in the lines like what I did was I bought these $20 lights that are very bright. They're low quality, right? But they're very bright. And it gave me an idea of how much light I would need to buy if I wanted to buy a legitimate video light. Ultimately, I just decided to use the $20 lights to add lighting to the scene. And Fotis says, I've been watching every single Penny S5 video since I got mine. People upgrading from GH5 say they like the full frame look better. What is the full frame look? Well, it's just a little bit shallower depth of field, right? At distance. That's all. And close up to some extent. It's more noticeable at a little bit of a distance. You know, maybe 2 or 3 meters. You still got a little bit of bokeh in the background. Whereas on Micro Four Thirds, if you're 2 or 3 meters out, you know, you can kind of kiss away all the bokeh and everything's in focus, right? So it's just a very slight difference. I think that's what they're talking about. But yeah, I took the S5 out today and didn't drop it. I did drop my M1 Mark III though. Fortunately, it fell on a rock. But fortunately, it hit this corner. And I tell you guys, always buy a full plate that covers the entire bottom of the camera. If you buy an Arca Swiss plate, so I got one that fits my EM1 Mark III perfectly. And it dropped and it hit like this and then kind of fell over onto the leaves. But the rock part hit right here, so I got a nice chip. But on the Arca Swiss plate, not on the camera, thank goodness. And, you know, I told you guys I make my own straps, right? So what I did this morning is I hooked the strap one in one direction and I hooked the other side in the other direction. And I said, if the camera drops today, I'll know which direction not to put the hooks in next time. So it did drop. So now I know I want both hooks face up. And that's hopefully less likely to come loose while I'm walking around. I need bubble wrap on my cameras. You know, David Crooks walked around this morning, looked like he had bubble wrap around his camera, but it was really just a rain cover. Because, you know, he has an EM1 Mark III, but then he was using like a kit lens, so he didn't want his kit lens to get wet. And Nature says, because I virtually do 100% of my work outdoors and close-up macro, I ended up buying a Rotolite Neo 2. Okay, I'm not familiar with that light. I'm familiar with the brand because of what's-his-face, but I'm not familiar with the Neo 2. But that's a round light, right? And it's usually a little bigger, I think. And Trevor says, Bob Tishmars is asking a question about video. Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. Did I miss that? It's auto for Olympus lenses. What? Okay. Let me go back and find Bob's question. Chuck says, I had a telescope about once in 6 past months, mainly just been cloudy here. Did have a great view of Saturn when I had it out. Yes. Nice. I've always loved, like, seeing the stars. I'd love to get into telescopes and things, but for some reason I never have. But I always, you know, at time to time I'll be shopping and I'll see a telescope pop up for whatever reason. I'm like, man, I should get one of those. But then it's like, I want to get a good one, right? And they're kind of expensive. Bob says, what did you think of the video link I sent you? And the guy, oh, I'm sorry, Bob. You know, I only watched the first like 30 seconds of that. I've been meaning to get back to it, though. I'm sorry. Honestly, I haven't watched it yet. But I did get your email with the link, and I clicked on it, and I started watching it, and then, I don't know, something else kind of distracted me, and then I meant to get back to it. Oh, you're welcome, Wudang. How you doing? Good to see you here. Thank you. I do the best I can. I try to help when I can. You know, a lot of viewers, they email me with questions, I guess, that, you know, you need a little more room than 100 characters in chat, right? Or sometimes they want me to watch one of their videos and I try to give some suggestions. And what filter set do you recommend? Lee, other, I am a point where I want to try out the drop in the filter thing. You know, I bought like a $30 newer, you know, cheapo generic filter set with plastic. They were actually plastic, made out of plastic, not glass. And because I didn't know if I was really going to be using filters much at all, so I said, well, let me buy a cheap one, and if I'm using the crap out of these, then it'll make sense for me to spend, you know, hundreds of dollars on a filter set, right? And that's what ended up happening, is I didn't end up using them at all. But Lee always comes highly recommended. You know, the person to look for is, what's his name? Thomas Heaton, I think that's his name. He uses a filter set that, you know, he's hardcore landscape photographer, right? I would use whatever he's using, because you know he's going to choose the very best. Yeah, Wu Dang's in the house. That's right. And by the way, thanks for the help on the other day on Instagram in regards to the issues with my handheld high res. I still have very low success rate. Oh, okay. I vaguely remember that on Instagram. I did reply. I reply to a handful every now and then. I'm honestly, I'm not that good with Instagram. But I try. You know, I really try. I had an idea. Yeah, Hoya, Wudang says, I personally use a lot of Hoya filters. They're not too expensive in the job in terms of on quality. Yeah, Hoya is very popular, right? And well known, and been making filters a long, long time. So, but I don't know if those are drop-in, if they make the drop-in type filters. I know they make a lot of screw-on type filters. And Trevor says Nigel Danson has a good video on filters. So Nigel Danson, the name rings a bell, but I assume, you know, you can trust Trevor. He won't steer you wrong either. And Wudang says the new Hoya CPL UX filter is awesome. It gives punchy colors. Okay. Ah, you're over the screw-on. Dave says he's over the screw-on filter thing. It's just a pain. Well, you still have to screw on the drop-in mount. I don't know if you're really avoiding anything other than if you want to change filters, you know, while you're in the field on the same lens. Koken filters. Yeah, could be. Koken filters are good. I think everybody, Koken is like Xerox, right? Because people say, I'm going to make a Xerox copy, but it may not be an actual Xerox copier. It could be a Canon copier, right? Koken's kind of the same way. You know, I'm going to use a Koken filter, but they make a lot of mounts that are compatible with Koken filters. Hence, you know, because they've been doing it a long time. So I have to assume that they're good, but it's been a while since I've heard people talk about Koken filters, to be honest. You have to be careful because sometimes these brands get sold off to a third party, and you know they drive the quality down and make cheap stuff, kind of like Van Heusen dress shirts for men. Used to be very high quality dress shirts, but now not so much. And Mundag says, if I go pro photo filters, I would buy Nissi. They are the best. They're quite expensive though. And use their graduated filters and enhanced CPL filter glass. Yeah. I'm just not a filter person really. Just time to time I'll use a variable ND or infrared. I'm still trying to get my regular natural light photography down. I'm still terrible. I went out this morning and yesterday and I just took terrible pictures of the most beautiful scenery. It's beautiful, these trees and everything, and it just, once I got back home, I'm like, wow, these pictures suck. I could even show you. I did a lot of bracketing, so let me. Um, I mean, look at that. How bad is that? It's just unbelievable. These are bracketed. Let me filter out. Yeah, just raw only. So I tried to do starburst, but then I got all this flaring. And then it wasn't sharp because I'm at f/22, so I wasn't really happy with that one. Here's another bracketed group. This one came out okay, but man, you know, this was the kind of day I'm having. Like, I thought this would be a good shot, but then it just it just sucked. I didn't like it at all. Look at these shots of these leaves. I mean, how bad is this? Oh my God. Now these were kind of interesting, but I couldn't get the color quite right. And then this was a shot by accident. It's probably the best one I got. I think I was trying to put the camera on something and then I accidentally took a picture. And this one actually looks pretty decent. Just crop out my shoulder here and we're good. And then I tried to do like, oh, I got to show you another picture. I tried to do something kind of straight up, you know, where you have the trees kind of crawling into the frame. And that just, but that's just so boring, this shot. This one I thought was okay. But after I looked at it for, you know, after I finished editing it, I said, I'm going to put it on Instagram, but I got bored with this picture very quickly, personally. You know, yeah, this is where I was trying to capture starburst and stuff, and it's just terrible. All the way down. And then I started driving around and taking pictures of stuff around. This one I thought was pretty good. I like this one. But I'll put these up on my Flickr and Instagram later, and you guys can like and click like or comment on them there. You know. But that's what I did yesterday, and today I haven't even unloaded taken the memory card out of my EM1 this morning. I took out the S5 this morning too. What is this goop on it? Might be syrup from breakfast, but oh, the flaring is good in video, yeah. Oh, Robert is here. Robert Pietro. That's going to be a hard one for me to pronounce. Let me see. I'm going to say Pi Traru. I don't know where the accent is on that, but it's Pi Traru. Robert Pi Traru. Hello. Trevor says, I dropped my D500 on cobblestone. Ooh, yeah. And Wudang says he tried Nessie filter once and was impressed. Didn't keep it though. Their mounting system is practical and quite easy and can rotate also. Yeah, I guess if you're hardcore into filters, you know, it wouldn't hurt to buy a good one, you know. And David Crook says, Steve Gettle has a YouTube channel and recommended magnetic drop-in filters for long exposure. Each filter has a holder with $100. Wow. And the case magnetics are so easy to use. You guys know a lot of stuff about filters. And Marshall Perola, or Perola, Marcial, okay, I'm gonna try. Marcial Irola says, hi, I use a lot of Canon cameras and I bought Olympus I think he said, and now I bought Olympus OMD Mark III. So I don't know if it's the M1 or the EM10, because those are the two Mark III series, and the EM5 Mark III. Want to know color profile? How natural? A good start. Do you advise your increased saturation or play with white balance? Okay. Auto white balance on Olympus is excellent. It really does a good job. Of course, it's going to have its challenges, like any camera. But I found even in tungsten lighting and outdoor lighting, auto white balance is excellent on the Olympus. It's better than any other camera I've used. As far as color, natural color profile gives you the most accurate colors. They're very, and again, this is where Olympus really shines. They get very, very accurate colors, but somehow still pleasing. You know, they're just very slight shifts in the natural color profile. So you don't need to add saturation or subtract, and then use the normal tone curve, normal sharpness, normal contrast. Everything's set to 0 there, and you'll be fine. Just the factory defaults on color is perfect. If you want the most natural looking, you can get carried away and play with saturation and tint and white balance and everything else. But hold off on that until you get a little more comfortable with just using the camera in general. And then once you're kind of more familiar with the camera and what happens when you push a button or turn a dial, that's when you start to experiment, because then you'll be able to quickly get back to your original settings or get back to the settings that you liked and go back and forth very easily without getting too frustrated, right? And I have a lot of videos on the EM10 Mark II, which you can apply to almost any Olympus camera. So, if you're really truly a very beginner, with Olympus, you can watch those videos and it'll help you get started. But since you're coming from a Canon, you might be, you'll probably get up to speed very quickly with Olympus. So natural is the best, natural color profile. And Randy says you got some. Oh, I saw one you emailed. I did see one, Randy. New pics from the desert tower that you went to yesterday. Yeah, I'm gonna check those out later. Randy has a website and Flickr account where he, and he goes out pretty regular taking pictures, and he's really a good photographer. So his username there, his screen name, randysomethingphotography.com. So you can go to his main website, and then I'll have links to everything else and photos on that site too. And polarizer filter for reducing glare. Excellence for forest in the autumn. Yes, definitely. Yeah, David Crooks brought his polarizer filter. I didn't. That probably would have helped, because the sun was, the lens, this is where a lens hood doesn't help, right? Because the sun's coming straight into the lens. So a polarizer filter might have helped. And Trevor says the ideas were good though, huh? Yes, on the filters, definitely, if that's what you're referring to. For the single men only, the M5 Mark III is a way to pick up the ladies. Was in St. Augustine Saturday. Had two ladies approach me, starting up a conversation, asking if I was using a film camera. Yeah, I get that with the Pen F time to time. Usually it's like they're with somebody though, but... And polarizer are great for saturated fall colors. Yeah, definitely. I was, if I was thinking straight, I would have dug out my polarizer. I have a whole box of filters, and I know it's in there. And then figure out the step rings I need to get it on the lens that I want to use it for. And Nature's asking if Randy submitted photos. Yeah, he submits one pretty regularly. At least every Sunday, usually a lot on Thursday too, he'll send one. And Dave says every camera needs robtrek protection plan. Yeah, it's amazing. I always wonder in the back of my mind because I've had to send my camera in now. This is the third time I've sent a camera into Olympus for warranty repair. Once for my Pen F and now twice on my EM5 Mark III. I always wonder if they watch my streams and know how often I drop my cameras and if that would, you know, if they might be like, we're not fixing anything Rob sends in, forget it, you know? Even if it is under warranty. Just in the back of my mind. They've always fixed it, but it just, you know, but a camera should be able to, you know, I think the things wrong with my camera have nothing to do with how it was dropped, you know? I mean, anything can happen when you drop a camera, but this was happening when I got it back from the warranty. From the first time I sent it into warranty, when I got it back, this is a new problem that happened before I even took the camera out in the field. It was having, you know, these issues, so it's nothing to do with me dropping it, I know. Oops, my chat window didn't scroll up. Ah, the OMD EM10 Mark III. Okay, good. Yeah, excellent camera. Takes great pictures. For Marcio Perola. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm getting a little cotton mouth. I need some water. I had a very salty breakfast. Lots of butter and pancakes and scrapple and eggs, and now my mouth is dry. And it looks similar in color to Olympus with a little warmer look. Yes, it is warmer. But I would not use keep warm on Olympus too. Oh, that's a good point. There is a setting in the EM10 Mark III that under the color menu where you turn off keep warm colors on. So if you download the PDF manual and search for keep warm colors, it'll take you right to the page where it'll show you where in the menu it is that you can turn it off. Because the EM10 Mark III is a little bit different than the EM10 Mark II, I think. So it may not be in the exact same place, but it's under the color menu, I'm pretty sure. And Arab Man is asking, will Olympus upgrade its app? I seriously doubt it. Not anytime in the near future. They just got too much on their plate right now with the transition to JIP. I feel like until all the pieces settle, we're not going to see much out of Olympus. With the exception of the very high profile products like the 150 to 400, maybe the 8 to 25, like the lenses, that they need to maintain because they've been talking about that all year. It's very unlikely they would just drop that until the transition's over. So I'm sure they're still working very hard on high profile items. But things like the app, Olympus Workspace, firmware updates, all of that stuff, I seriously doubt we're going to see much in the future. And that's pure speculation on my part. And Wudang says, I will show my gear in a video list this week. Oh, Wudang, okay, Wudang Academy has a channel on YouTube where he does a lot of, lots of different things, but it's primarily like a Kung Fu channel, right? And at his, I know you don't call it a dojo, I keep forgetting, but just a place where they practice their stuff. And then he has some cooking things, and then he has, I don't know, he's kind of expanding his channel a little bit. But he has a different channel that he used to publish on that talked a little bit more about camera gear, but I don't think you're maintaining that anymore. Drink some water, Rob. I know, right? That leaf picture is from a ginkgo tree. I have no idea what kind of trees they are. Dropping a camera is not the same as a reset. And Seraphin says, I hate polarizers, prefer to go into the woods and on cloudy days so I don't get the extremes in shade and sun. Well, the polarizers are designed to cut haze and glare. So if it's raining, a polarizer, or things are, or after a rain where there's lots of speculars, polarizers kind of cut down on that. They also are good for making water a little bit richer in color if they're blue or black or whatever color the water is supposed to look like. So, you know, it's not just for sun, you know, and reducing haze, but it does other things. And Nature says, only once dropped a GH4 camera and a Nikon 200 macro lens. Fell off a tripod and luckily onto soil and vegetation. Oh, yeah, that's nothing. That's like falling on a cloud, man. It's like, no problem. That's the only time. Actually, I think this is the only second time I've dropped, well, third time I've dropped my EM1 Mark II. The first time was on the ground. No, wait. This is the M1 Mark III. This is the second time I've dropped my M1 Mark III. I've only dropped my M1 Mark II once, and it was onto the ground. Actually, the whole tripod kind of fell over. I'm not sure why. Yep, Homer Simpson. And Robert Paitaru says, how did you start making money with photography? I started doing photo shoots with my friends, but I can't really find anybody interested outside of that. It's a long story for me, right? Well, not a long story, but I've told it a couple of times. But I do real estate photography, right? And you know, the person that, and at the time I was not doing any professional photography, but one of my clients was buying and selling property, and I told him that, you know, I can take pictures of your property that you can give to the agent to use, you know, to sell your property, or to sell this, yeah, whatever, to sell the property. And he agreed. He says, yeah, if you take some good pictures of my property, I'll give it to my agent. And I got to know the agent that, you know, of this client. And once I talked to the agent, I said, you know, and he liked the pictures that I took. And I said, you know, if you have any properties, you know, right now listed that you don't have any professional photos for, why don't you let me go and take some pictures of them? And I'll do them for free, because I need the practice, right? Because I knew nothing about real estate photography at the time. I mean, I knew how to use a camera, basically. I was a competent photographer, but, you know, real estate photography was very different. And of course he's going to say, sure, you know, he trusts me enough to go to these properties that were vacant. You know, I could go on my own. He would give me the codes. So I had this relationship kind of already with this agent through my other client. And then I took pictures of like 4 or 5 properties, no charge, just so I could practice and learn how to process, because it's not just about taking the picture, it's also about the post-processing. And then I said, after the 5th property, I'm going to start charging you. And then I charged him whatever rate. And I gave him a big discount because he helped me out a lot, this agent. And that's how I got started. So the moral of that story is really you need to network and start building relationship with people that have a need for photography services. Where I live here in this area, real estate is, you know, there's a lot of demand. I mean, there's so much property sold here. It's one of the few places in the country where real estate is just kicking butt left and right. So that's kind of how it started for me. And the story there is really about networking. So I was doing something for this client that was not photography related, but he was buying and selling property. And I was helping him manage some of those properties. But then when he wanted to sell the property, that's when I came in and says, let me take the pictures. And that's how I got started. So it was kind of indirect. I didn't just walk out to like a real estate office and say, I'm a photographer, I can take pictures. That's hard. It's hard to walk in cold, right? And start marketing your services. It's a lot easier, the path of least resistance, if you know somebody that may have a need for photography services. And it doesn't have to be real estate, it could be anything, product photography, but business related. People that have money to spend. And then any business that you get into is going to have competition, and it's going to have its own challenges that you know, you're going to have to overcome like anyone else. I mean, it's not as simple as I make it sound, right? Getting into a photography business. But it's not that hard either, right? You just have to have you just have to have a little determination. Now, the way you're going about it now is you have some friends that you're doing some portraits, or friends of friends, and you're maybe getting paid for that, I don't know, but you know, if they, I don't know how old you are, but if they work somewhere like in a business and they need corporate portfolios, right? Corporate pictures for their business card. That may be your way in, and you can have your friends say, you know, my friend took a picture of me for my business card. You know, if you need this done, if you want a good picture done, you know, I can refer you, and so on, right? So you have to kind of think of a way to get that connection. And that's your path of least resistance to building your business. And you charge a little bit less at first than anybody competing. And it has to be commensurate with your skills. I mean, if you're a top-notch portrait photographer, you can probably start charging top dollar out the gate, right? Or almost top dollar. But generally speaking, you want to discount your services up front for the first handful of clients. And then once you got kind of a regular flow or regular business, anybody that new comes in, you start escalating your prices. The new person that comes in, you might charge $25 more or $50 more than the last person. And then you stay at that level and see how it pans out. And if that new price level pans out, then you can raise it again. Because that's what I did in my real estate. Is the very first client that I met, I charged like half what the market was going for. Because A, that was commensurate with my skill set. I was very new. And B, you know, I didn't have any other clients. But the very next client, I charged $25 more per shoot. Then the very next one, $75 more per shoot. And that's kind of where it's leveled off. Where, because you get about $200 for a typical job in real estate, give or take. You know, it depends on the property, but you know, you can pretty much count on $200 per job. And you know, the first guy charged him, you know, $125. The next person $150. Then the next person $175 to $200 per job. And then if I get real, because I'm not quite there yet. I mean, if there's a perfect 10 photographer, you know, I haven't seen one, but I've seen a lot of, not a lot, but I've seen a handful of photographers that I would say rate like a 9 out of 10. That's not me. I'm more like about an 8 out of 10 in terms of skill set for real estate photography, maybe 7.5 to 8 consistently. I can do a 7.5 to 8 job. So I charge a little bit less than a lot of competing photographers, because it's kind of commensurate with my skill set and what I can deliver. But anyhow, I'm talking too much now. You know, I could talk for hours about business, right? If we wanted to, but I don't want to bore everybody to death, because not everybody, most of us here are doing photography for fun, for our own fulfillment and satisfaction. You know what I mean? It's not about business, right? All right, but hopefully that helps a little bit, you know, answer your question. Let me catch up here. I was talking for a while there. What a sunrise this morning, huh, Randy? Awesome. Sporadic clouds, awesome. Do ginkgo trees spawn geckos? I have no idea. You guys, I'm just skimming past you guys' conversations here. 100 plus. What is that? Is that how many people were on my stream? Oh my goodness. That's pretty awesome. 100 people? Oh yeah, actually, while everybody's here, okay, nobody leave, all right? If you're on the stream right now, call all your friends and tell them to come on the stream. I gotta make a couple of announcements. Let me just catch up with the chat section here. I know a lot about property, especially rented and new developments. Anyone want another property, real estate photographer, or videographer? Oh, nature. Okay, nature. Well, put a link to your website after the show in the comment section. That'll be fine, right? There's enough business for everybody. Oh crap, I lost my place here. And John Leach says, having confidence in your equipment and knowing your limitations help in photography. Yes. Knowing your own limitations and your gear, the limitations of your gear, which is why I bought a Panasonic S5 for video work, which sucks because now nobody's calling me for video work right after I buy a video camera. Isn't that how it is? And Trevor says, no, it's interesting. Well, that must be about when I was talking about the real estate. For a job, you need the right tools for the right job. Another question one might ask himself if you want to go pro, you setting money for creative. You setting money before creativity. Becoming a camera operator, not an artist. Yeah, you have to be able to deliver what the client wants. I mean, the long story short, right? I mean, you know, some people, you know, you basically have to be a purist for real estate, product photography. No creative license allowed. Okay, you have to be very, very pure in your images. They have to represent exactly what they're selling. You can get mildly creative in terms of composition, like, you know, I want the picture of this bowl to be in the shot, you know, that's on the table. I mean, you can get a little bit creative in that sense in composition, but ultimately the pictures had to be very pure in product photography, which real estate is really kind of product photography, right? Why not do a business special on Sunday? No, you know, honestly, I'm a terrible business person. I mean, I make a living, but, and maybe that's a big deal because, you know, you hear 90% of businesses fail, and the fact that I'm still going makes me, you know, above the cut, right, a little bit, but you know, I don't like to talk about business on my stream. I love photography, not so much work. But maybe. Actually, that's part of the announcement. Okay, how many people are here? 98. All right, that's enough. So let me tell you, okay, let me just catch up real quick. Let me put a marker here. Okay, so I'm going to put a marker here. We're at 12:27. Dave Nelson says it was good to hear that story. And Lauren says the number of photos taken of real estate which look awful surpasses my expectations. Very few look professional. Looks more like agents do their own. Yeah, most agents do their own. They don't want to spend the money. Okay, so here's my, oh my God, now the count is dropped. But anyway, okay, Sunday next week, Sunday 10 a.m., which is an hour and a half before I started today. An hour and a half sooner next week, Sunday. And I'm doing this partially for Robin Wong's sake, but Robin Wong is going to be my guest next week on Sunday. So everybody come back, definitely be here for that, okay? The week after that, so that's November 8th at 10 a.m. New York City time, okay? So put in your world clock and figure out what that is in your world, you know, what time that is. But Robin Wong will be here. Because I can't get him to live stream on his own. I keep encouraging him. It's like, Robin, you know, you should start live streaming, you know? But nothing all year, not one stream from Robin. So, but he loves coming on my channel, or he said he would love to come on my channel. So next Sunday, Robin Wong, November 15th, okay? Same time, I think I said 10 a.m. Well, you'll see a link on my channel. Definitely, it's going to be Maddie Salanto from Salanto Blog and Emily from Micro Four Nerds is going to be my guest on November 15th. So everybody mark their calendars for that Sunday. So November 8th and November 15th, definitely locked in. They're going to be on my channel. I'm also coordinating with Jimmy Chang and Peter Forsgaard to be on their channel. And on Jimmy Chang's channel, we're going to talk about business side of photography. I suggested we talk about sort of the business side of photography a little bit. I don't know if he's going to take me up on that. It was just a suggestion from me. But Jimmy Chang's going to let me know, and I'll be on his channel. He does his streams on Wednesdays, so he's going to let me know what Wednesday to come in and be on. So keep an eye out on Jimmy Chang channel and also Peter Forsgaard channel. Those will probably be after the 15th, but I'll be a guest on their channel. So subscribe to all of our channels if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. You know, I never say that, right? But these are kind of rare opportunities for my channel to have guests, right? We don't do that very often. I should do it more, but I don't like to bother people, you know? So that's the news. Hopefully you guys all be here. Subscribe to their channel, subscribe to mine, hit the bell notifications so that everybody knows what's going on, right? And check my channel page often and my community page, because I'm going to be posting links to all of these streams on my community page as well, letting you know what day and time, and if there's a link to the stream directly, I'll put that there as well. So, and you know, Robin, the happiest photographer on earth, right? He's always smiling. It's going to be a treat, definitely. And then with Maddie and Emily, you know, you kind of got two separate people, right? Maddie doesn't really smile enough. He'll crack a joke. He's really a funny guy, and he'll crack a joke once in a while. But you know, I don't know if anybody gets it, but I get it. You know, it's very dry. And then Emily's always smiling, right? She's another very happy-go-lucky person, and she'll be a lot of fun to have on the stream. So I'm looking forward to it myself. I'm really excited about it. So I hope you guys will join us for that. Let's try and get 200-300 people, 1,000 people on the stream those days. Why not, right? That'll be a good day. Let's see, and then Randy says, when I went to art school, they did not go on the business end, so your insight is very welcome. Oh, okay. And Mike Ham says, why do you think camera companies are so reluctant to add more computational stuff, like ND, backlight, enhance, like every new phone has? I have to give that some thought. I mean, they have a lot of well, the Olympuses anyway have a lot of computational type photography in them, right? Like live ND, live composite, high-res shot mode, those kind of things. But I'm not familiar enough with what computational photography cell phones have, other than trying to blur out background and things like that. The challenge with the challenge with cameras, number one, is battery life, right? To do these kind of computational things requires a lot of processing power. And you have a little, you know, 1200 milliamp battery in your camera, and you want to try and get 300 shots out of that, right? So camera companies do their best to extend, to get the highest SEPA rating, like how many pictures can you take on a single battery. So they have to optimize their camera for that. But then they have to make their cameras attractive in that by adding features like Olympus has with the high-res shot, live ND, focus stacking, all of this stuff, right? Which requires a lot of computational power. And that lowers the count on the terms of how many pictures you can take and the battery life. Cell phones, as you know, have 3,000, 4,000 milliamp batteries in them, and people have a million different ways to charge them. You know, you can't, you know, swing a dead cat or a cat, you know, by its tail without finding a place to charge your phone, right? In your own house, in the office, whatever, in your car. I mean, there's so many ways to charge your phone, and you know, so your phone is always charged. So. and they have very, very powerful processors in them relative to cameras. I'm sure of it. I'm sure a cell phone has a much more powerful CPU than most cameras. So, and the coding is not, the CPU processing itself has a very, very large instruction set to accommodate like an Android OS operating system or Mac, whatever Apple's use. You know, I don't know what they call it, iPhone, whatever the iPhone uses. They have to be able to accommodate lots of different types of programming, right? So they have to have very powerful processors. So you have all these different kinds of apps for phones that that you'll never find on a camera. I know Sony tried it once and that died, right? The NEX series, you used to be able to download apps for you had to pay for them, but you used to be able to download apps on their Play Store or whatever they called it back then. So I think there's a lot of challenges technically to adding computational photography into a camera because of this competing need for power on a camera, you know. Because if you make a processor that's able to handle all different kinds of processing and different types of computations, it's going to draw more power from the battery. And the camera, you know, you'll turn it on and 30 minutes later the battery's dead. You know what I mean? And I'm exaggerating, of course, but I think when they design a camera, they do have to balance, you know, because the camera not only has to be able to do computational photography, it has to do everything else very good as well and be a real camera. So there's a lot of competing things there, I think, that make it more difficult for cameras to be able to do computational photography versus, say, a cell phone that was designed from the ground up to handle multiple types of computational things like apps, right? Whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or whatever apps they have. You know, whatever apps they have. But you know, there's millions of apps, right? Calculators and things on a phone. You know, Google Maps. That these processors are very powerful, very diverse, and it's very easy to program computational things into them. Versus a camera is a very dedicated chipset that they'd have to expand that chipset. So we're talking about research and development of developing a new CPU for the cameras that can handle a wide range of types of computations that they were never designed to do in the first place, right? And that in turn requires more energy, more power from the battery, which shortens the battery life. And you know, we're kind of back to where I started, but that's my thought on it. Long story long. That was a long explanation. I'm sorry. And not very well organized. But hopefully you get the gist of the reasoning I'm thinking. That's the reason I think. Again, it's pure speculation. Who knows? You know, I could be totally wrong, but that's what I think it is they never designed a CPU in the camera to begin with to be able to handle this wide range of types of computations. Those CPUs in the cameras are very limited to exposure type things, right? That's why, like, the EM1X needed two processors, two TruePic 8 processors to be able to handle that new computation, or that new focusing system where it's tracking planes and trains and airplanes or whatever those things were. Because a single processor didn't have enough power, computational power, right? So they needed two. And if they were to add additional computational features, they would need a whole new CPU altogether to be able to handle all different types of computations it would need to do. And okay, anyway, I'm going in circles, but that's what I think. Okay, so Mike, I hope that makes sense. I didn't organize, kind of caught me off guard with that question. And wow, there's a billion questions here that I missed. Wow, what time is it? 12:20. Man, I was talking for 10 minutes. Elon Musk, give some bucks. That would be nice. Uncle Rob's got a girlfriend announcement. No, no girlfriend. Are you kidding me? I was, you know, I'm single. That's not my fault. I was born that way. Rob, I have a lot of respect for your job. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Wudang. Therefore says, Lauren, I don't want to know what it means. Oh, okay. It's hard to win money lost in space. I'm not lost in space. I'm social distancing. That's why I'm in space. Trevor says, awesome. robtrek, that's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. on Sunday. And Stanislav says, once I photographed a house of a retired federal office near Colonial Beach with an EPL2 and kit zoom, and he said the best photograph of his property. And that goes back to what I always say. As your photography skill set goes up, the gear matters a lot less. I mean, the gear doesn't matter anyway, honestly. For most photography, right? Any modern digital camera, if you have a very high photography skill set, you can take a good picture. It says here, why are there a lot of Rob who shoot M43? I don't know. Brilliant news. Awesome. Nice. Nice. Good. And that's our East Coast time. Yes. 10 a.m. New York City. Eastern Standard Time. When I said Emily from Micro Four Nerds and the count jumped up. I know, right? I should get more ladies on my channel. That would be nice. Nature says, robtrek made a note of the dates and appearances. Good. And I think you have, Dave says, I think you have a good number of people who'd like to hear the business side of photography. Oof. I don't know, that's asking for trouble, because business side is almost legal stuff, right? And if I start giving out what I do, and if what I'm doing is not totally on the level, that could get everybody in trouble, right? Yes, Emily is awesome. She is very smart. Maddie has sardonic humor. Yes, that's a good word for it. Maddie is the Bob Newhart of photography. I know, right? That's an awesome analogy. The Black Adder. God, that's a British show, I think. The main thing I want to see improved in future cameras is good battery life. Yeah. I mean, it's a compromise, like I was just talking about. You know, the more features you add in the camera, the lower the battery life. It's tough. You know, you want a 5 megapixel, EVF. Yeah, kiss your battery life goodbye. Computer generated image might be impossible to post that. In other words, a step far. Yes, all in printing. Will it look good? I don't know, Lauren. And Nature says, so glad there is much to look forward to in November, as now is a nationwide lockdown in UK. Really? Thank God I do wildlife and nature and video. Yes. And Sony is leading the way with the Z battery type. Work for hours of video recording. I can confirm that. Oh, okay. But I didn't find a Sony that had 422 10-bit internal recording for $2,000 like the Panasonic, and was full frame, right? So I didn't look at Sony at all, is what I'm saying. So it's good to know the battery life is good, though. Maddie is a Sulanto blog, sorry. He's a Panasonic Vision ambassador, whatever they call Panasonic calls them. Wow, that's very old-fashioned British humor. Yeah. Yeah, the Black Adder, that's a show. I tried to watch a little bit of it. Is these guys that had a bookshop or something? It was amusing, but not enough for me to continue watching it. I watched a few episodes and just never got back to it. You're already subscribed, okay. Only thing, whoops. Oh, Sunny Singh, I'm sorry. Hi, Sunny, how are you? I just got down to that part. 12:42. I'm only 6 minutes behind now. I'm catching up. Getting there, Sunny. And 131 Logan says, I have not the last cameras. Oops, I'm not sure what that's in reference to. India. You're from India. Okay. I kind of got that from the last name, Singh. I mean, I shouldn't be presumptuous, but Singh is usually Indian. Let's see. I met an Indian fellow this morning, brand new to the Dave's Photography Club, Praveen. And it would be icing on the cake if I got astrofocusing, but not required. Yes, it's not that important. You can manually focus, right? When will Olympus release the new Pen 2 or at least an ep.11? I have no idea. Wu-Dang says, I can confirm that I have a lot of high-end lenses, but I mostly like to use my cheap micro primes for SLR Magic, from SLR Magic. Before I did not look at them, but with more skill, you like imperfect lenses. Yes. You always like lenses that have character, which, you know, is quote-unquote, those are imperfections in the lens, right? Because a perfect lens would have a perfect, no curvature, no vignetting, you know, perfectly sharp corner to corner, no distortion, all that good stuff, right? But lenses that have character have some defects, whether it's distortion or fringing or whatever, right? Ever used a Martin Hillebrandt on YouTube for camera reviews? No. I have no idea what that is. Wu-Dang says, for me, the 50mm micro prime from SLR Magic was the best buy in the last 2 years. Yeah, you can keep talking about that lens. I'll have to look at that. And let's see, at robtrek, I tried standing in front of a camera for the first time and talking as introduction to my autumn video clip. Problem with exposure, but was easily solved with the with the sound. Not so easily solved. Yeah, sound is a big deal, right? I mean, I just barely get by with a lav mic. I kind of got everything tuned and just right. But even so, like when I'm talking this way, my voice is a little bit clearer, right? But then when I'm looking over here, you know, my voice is away from the lav mic a little bit. So one of these days, though, I'm gonna get a big honking, you know, SM78 or SM58 mic and have it right here, right? on a stand, and get me a mixer and just go full on legit studio, right? But I just can't justify spending, you know, another $700-800 in audio gear when this $20 lav mic gets me like 99% there. Oh, 7 minutes. Yes, I do need to get to my next stream. So, Chan KS, hi, how are you? I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for asking. How about yourself? The only time I'm in front of the lens is when they are taking pictures for most wanted in the post office. Oh, you're funny, Randy. And 131 Logan says, I still have my D500 and D4. Man, those are two excellent cameras. I mean, I would say those are like, as far as modern cameras go, in Nikon, the D850, the D4, the D500. If you want to go back further than that, you know, the D3, the D700, the D90, classic Nikon, you know, DSLRs, awesome cameras. You know, the D750 is an excellent camera, but it's not like D4 or D500 or even the D90 when it came out, you know, one of the first DSLRs with video. The D300, excellent. But alas, you know, dinosaurs of the past. Yeah, the DF is basically a D4, right? But in a compact body. I'll get a DF one day. That's why I keep thinking I don't want to sell all my Nikon glass off, because one day I'm going to get a DF and I'm going to be like, oh, I wish I still had my 70-200 or my 85 or whatever. Yes, resolution is sufficient for press. Absolutely. I'm focusing to 25 millimeter on my pan of 14 to 45 today. Okay. 25 is a good, nice natural focal length. But all right, man, now I'm like at a peak, 100 people here. That's awesome. But I have to get ready for my next stream and get something to drink. I'm so thirsty. Wide zoom would be good. f1.8 is not necessary for landscape work. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you asking a question about Will L says I'm focusing the 25 millimeters on my Pana. So I need a little more context though, if that was a question. Enjoy my pancakes. No, I'm saving that for later this evening. I'm gonna sit down with my dog Ellie and we're gonna eat the pancakes and hash browns. Oh, hey Sanja, how are you? Oh, there's lots of people here that just watch and listen, I guess, but they never chime in, like Sanja. I know you've chimed in before, I'm pretty sure, but I rarely see you. Going to get a drink myself, yes. Corna, how are you? Yes, hi. I need to get over to the next stream. I think you normally join us in the editing stream. So everyone, thank you. Gosh, I'm so sorry I have to go. There's so many people here, but I really appreciate your time today, listening to me just kind of jibber jabber on about everything, you know. It's always a lot of fun for me anyway. And it's really, I'm very grateful that you would take time out of your day to sit down with me and have a conversation. So thanks again for joining me today. I'll be back on Tuesday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, EST, which is New York City. So that'll be my next stream. Until then, you guys have a good rest of your weekend and a good week. Thanks again.